Let's take a closer look at this and other stories with Sahil Kapur, national political reporter for Bloomberg News. Sahil, good morning.
Good morning.
Does the president have the ammunition he needs to fire Rosenstein if he wants to?
Well, in theory, if he decides to look at this and view this as Rosenstein actually trying to make a move against him, then maybe. It depends on what's going on in his mind. But we know there are differing interpretations of this. There are other sources in the room who have suggested that it was a sarcastic, it was a flip comment. He was shooting down McCabe's suggestion of an investigation. What do you want me to do, Andy? Wear a wire. Not that he was seriously suggesting, going against the president.
We've obviously heard in Paul's report that also Rosenstein has denied this, but what would his removal, if that happened, mean for the Russia investigation?
It would be very significant. Rosenstein is the linchpin of the Russia investigation. He appointed Bob Mueller. He oversees it because Attorney General Jeff Sessions is recused from that investigation. So the question is, who would be replacing him, and what would that person do? President Trump, we know, is strongly against this investigation. He's increasingly soured on it. So he may want to pick somebody who has a similar view, which is why he would have trouble confirming them.
Let's turn now to Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation. A lot or a little happened overnight, as I recall, but bring us up to date on what all of that means.
Big picture, they seem to be moving toward a resolution where Dr. Christine Blasey Ford testifies in the Senate. Brett Kavanaugh will have a say as well, respond to the allegations against him. This could happen this week around Wednesday or so, but the negotiations are not final. They're still figuring out the terms of it, who's going to be in the room, how many rounds of questioning, that sort of thing. But it's enormously significant because this is going to probably determine whether or not he gets a seat on that Supreme Court for 30 to 40 years.
The political stakes are high here, too, with the midterms looming so closely, aren't they?
They certainly are. And this whole conversation, this whole debate threatens to douse gasoline on an already raging Me Too movement where you see suburban, professional, college-educated women are mobilized. This threatens to intensify that. And some of the rhetoric coming from Republicans, including Senator McConnell, that you played, is being used by Democrats to fuel that.
He suggested yesterday that he has the votes already to confirm him. Do you think he does?
Well, I think it was more of a pressure tactic than a prediction. He doesn't control the votes of people like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. If he did, the ACA would be repealed. He's trying to keep the heat on. He's telling his conservative allies, don't let up on this. We still need to push forward on this. And they do respond to pressure, so they're going to be feeling a lot of it from both sides.
Anthony mentioned the midterms. We've seen President Barack Obama has been out on the campaign trail as well in a state like Pennsylvania, which is so key. We look forward to the midterm elections and we know how high the stakes are, but what kind of impact does the president need to have there?
Well, the stakes are huge. The voters are going to decide which party runs the House. That's the power of the purse, power to oversee the president. It's essentially a binary choice between a party that's going to be standing by the president and defending him and trying to carry out his agenda, and a party that's going to be adversarial and confrontational toward him. And yes, I think President Obama is trying to get involved, tell the Democrats, this is important, you need to show up.
Is that enough?
Well, the tide is in favor of Democrats right now. The president's approval rating is low, and the generic ballot, which asks voters which party they prefer to control Congress, is strong for Democrats, but they need to turn out, and that's why President Obama is in trying to make that closing argument. So we'll see.
In lieu of all of that we've been discussing, have the Republicans lost their key important messaging issue, especially on something like tax cuts?
Right. So my colleague and I obtained an internal Republican National Committee poll where they tested voter opinion on their tax law, which is a signature legislative achievement of this Congress. And what they found is that public opinion is divided overall when you simply ask favorable, unfavorable. But by a 2-to-1 margin, Americans believe that the tax law benefits large corporations and the wealthy over the middle class. That's completely contradictory to their message. That kind of explains why they've pivoted off the messaging, trying to sell the tax cuts and move toward culture wars, things like immigration and crime and nativism, which do, really mobilize the conservative base.
Never a dull day. Sahil Kapur, thank you so much.
Always
Thank you.